I think the longer you do something, the easier it is to find alignment, recognize alignment, and really recognize misalignment. And I think it's just also scary to just get in the groove of, I'm going to be myself.
No matter what you're trying to achieve, there is a blueprint. You're not the first person to try to do anything. You're not the first person to build a smartphone. You're not the first person to build a tech company. You're not the first person to start a podcast. No matter what, there's an existing blueprint. And I think we all have to start out studying that. And yeah, maybe modeling it a bit.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1971, it's Freestyle Friday. For those of you who may be new to NLU, Freestyle Friday is where Alan and I just kind of show up and just have a discussion about maybe something we're going through, a lesson we learned. It's just, the opportunity to show up here and have a conversation, as opposed to, we're going to talk about this thing and we're going to try to stay on task with this thing for the whole time. This is my thought. I recorded an episode of Podcast Growth U today. Mm-hmm. Probably my favorite episode I've ever recorded. Podcast Growth U. Yeah.
Why?
And because I had a breakthrough right before I recorded it, where I said, you know what I think makes me different that I've been afraid to lean into is that podcast is not just about tips and tricks and tactics and strategies. It's about what it takes to succeed externally as well as internally as a podcaster. And I think I was struggling a little bit with the fear or with the pain of comparison before, because I think there was a little piece of me that felt ashamed that I wasn't doing it the way that other people were doing it. And I didn't realize that until I started doing the episode. And there was a point in the episode where I was like, I said it internally, this is really easy. I feel like I'm in flow. I don't know how to explain it. It was just like, this is really easy. And I feel just...
You love talking about the internal stuff.
Well, I think that...
You always have. I was the external guy.
Well, I know, but I think for a lot of people when they're as podcasters, it's the external stuff that... I pulled my mic down, almost ripped it off the desk.
Speaking
it's the
of
external
podcasting
stuff.
How certain are you, 0 to 10, that your audio is optimal?
Less than 1.
Really?
Yeah, let me check it out.
Yeah. I just need you to give it a little...
It's optimal.
It's optimal? Okay.
Yeah, it's optimal.
If you're confident, I'm confident. Sometimes when I'm on other shows, I move my
Never
amp.
move it. No, you'd never move it. That's rookie shit.
You know why I move it? Because if I dial it up, I can hear myself better, and then I am not as concerned about how close the mic is to my mouth. And a lot of people on other podcasts, they like the mic to be farther down than you and I. We're much more podcast focused, and a lot of other people are much more video.
Have people asked you to move the mic?
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
Absolutely.
I can say
like, hey,
in 900 and some odd episodes, nobody has ever asked me to move the mic.
Really?
Ever. No, not one person, no.
Yeah, that's happened several times, man.
They must hate me.
Either that or...
They hate you.
I'm kidding. I don't think they hate me. I think... Oh, God. I think
Let's
it's
not.
possible that...
Hey, let's not.
Yeah.
Let's not.
I'm not going to go there. That's not what I'm going to say.
No. It was
You're just
kind of
presupposing what I'm going to say.
No. It was kind of a joke, but then when you responded the way you responded, I was like, maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm onto something here. Go on.
No, I do think that some people research, they find out I was a model, and I think they probably want to put that on YouTube. That's all.
How fucking dare you? I did one modeling shoot as well, myself, and nobody's ever asked me to move the mic. If I'm on your show and you want me to move the mic so you can show off my face on YouTube, just let me know. I'll do it. I'll do it for you.
Sounds good.
Take one for the team. This was a breakthrough for me. It was a breakthrough, and it was scary. There was a moment during the episode where I was like, am I like sabotaging everything we've done up to this point if I do this episode? It was really scary, but it felt really good and it felt really right, but it was also scary, and I think that's the weird thing about knowing the difference between a fear you should face and a fear you shouldn't face, because it didn't feel good at first, and then as I spoke more, it was like, this feels right, but I'm still scared.
How did it feel after?
I'm still nervous.
Yeah.
I said in the episode, I'm probably going to record a new intro. I'm like, I think I just figured out who I am after 3,000 episodes. I think I finally just figured out who I am. It's weird.
Another layer of the Kevin onion has been unfolded.
Yes, the Kevunion.
The Kevunion. When I was at the training 3 weeks ago now, say what you said right before this.
The kids lost it. I was talking some shit. I was talking about comparison and how to know whether it's a fear that's worth facing. Yeah, that.
Got it. Thank you.
Cool.
So I talked to the kids and I said, they asked me a question. I forget what it was. How do you know when you're growing, or how do you know when you're on the path, or something like that? When you're in your calling. How do you know when you're in your calling? And I used fulfillment and regret. I think that you regret when you're, after you do something that you really wanted to do, that was maybe filled with fun or pleasure or enjoyment, and maybe you weren't that scared of it. Sometimes you regret it and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I shouldn't have been at that party, or whatever. And then there's other things that you do that you're actually really terrified to do or say. And you know that you're on the path when, after you're done with the thing, you feel icky emotionally, not in a negative, dirty way, but in like a vulnerable way. You feel vulnerable. You feel exposed. But simultaneously you feel fulfilled. So you feel fulfilled as a man or as a woman, but you also feel like, I don't know, who am I? And is that okay? Did I say something wrong? And I told them, I said, after this training, I'm going to feel fulfilled, but I'm also going to feel emotionally, rationally, I know this is great. I'm grateful to be here. All this stuff makes sense. Passion, purpose, profit, engineer, design a life, awesome, great. But afterwards, because of all the stuff that I shared that I was scared to share, I'm going to feel fulfilled, but also emotionally vulnerable. On the car ride home, I'm going to feel emotionally vulnerable. And I don't know how to describe that at all. I don't think I did a good job whatsoever describing that feeling. But that's why I asked you, how do you feel right now? Because you recorded it today. I think that you're on the path. You're in alignment with your calling, your potential, your contribution, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it destiny. Some people call it fate. Some people call it calling. Some people call it purpose. Some people call it mission. Some people call it your true potential, your greatest level of contribution. There's all these different names for it. But ultimately, is Kevin in alignment with best Kevin? And I think the answer is yes. If, number one, you feel fulfilled as a man, but number two, you feel like vulnerable emotionally.
I think that the best way I could describe it is you've thrown something up in the air and you're like anxious for it to come down, or you're anxious for it to fall and break. It's like it's out of your hands, but you can still feel it and you want the control back. That's the best way. Because after I did the episode, it's like, well, that's done now. So that's going to go. It's going to go out into the world. I'm not going to redo it. That's it. It's going to go out into the world. You know?
In my opinion, that's the hardest part of being a podcaster. Every now and then I'll think to myself, we have almost 2,000 episodes out there where we've shared a lot of ourselves. And I think I blur personal and professional quite a bit. You obviously do too. This podcast does.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And I've had clients who said, I feel like we're hanging out every day. And it's, well, that's great in terms of being on the train with us, on the growth train with us. We want the listeners to feel like they're on this journey with us. And there's some downsides to that too, where maybe you don't hold as high a perception and maybe listeners perceive you as a peer more than they really are and that kind of stuff. But it can be hard to not lose yourself in all that. And I think it's also really... Kevin and I are not famous by any means, but we are heard in 175 countries. We have coming up on 1.2 million listens across the 4 podcasts between the two of us.
Sounds it's very underwhelming when you put it that way. Like four podcasts, you know?
I think it's still pretty awesome.
That's a rough one, a little bit. Like this one has 1.1 million. The other three together have like,
well, they're newer.
60,000, you know?
Yeah, fair. I don't
It's
even
like,
care.
You put four people together. It's like, yeah, these four guys are worth $15 million. Except one of them is worth $14 million. And the other three are worth $333,000 each.
I am done caring about any of that.
That's fair. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I appreciate it. But being heard in over 175 countries when there's only 195 on the planet, there's this vulnerable thing, to Kevin's point of throwing something up in the air and feeling like you're out of control of it. There's a lot out there about you and I. And through the last 8 years, we've been in different versions of ourselves. I mean, sometimes every now and then I'll think like, what if one of my friends from my past, like I'll always think about different people. Like, I gotta stop saying like so goddamn much. I'll think about other people. And I think everyone goes through this where they'll have people pop into their head from their past. And I'll think to myself, what if that person did listen? So-and-so commented recently, so-and-so liked, so-and-so's watching my story even though they won't talk to me. I wonder if they listened, what would they think of this version of me? Because the version of me that they knew 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, the essence is the same, but the unlayering of the onion is, it's a massive contrast. So I think about that all the time. And so for anyone out there watching or listening, if you do want to endeavor in any sort of public figure realm or podcaster, or the vulnerability piece is huge, especially if you want to stay authentic. I was on with my therapist earlier. Her name's Carol, and we were talking about this merger of personal and professional and how that messes with my relationships sometimes. And I said, I don't like the fact that I have to like put on some professional front and then like shift into personal. I don't want to do that. What a giant waste of energy, in my opinion. I get why people do it. I do. I think it's actually alarmingly challenging not to do it. And I remember when I was in corporate, I would see these people, they would have these professional bravados, and then I know at home they're not like that. And some of them I knew in both scenarios. And I think it's kind of exhausting to try to be professional in one sense and then different in your personal life. And I always used to say this, and I've been talking a lot about the social world versus the real world, and I think that there's the professional world and then the personal world. And there's some crossover, of course. But I remember in corporate, I'm thinking of one of my bosses at the time, manager, I guess we'll call him, leader. And I remember thinking to myself, he's very competent, very capable, very intelligent, MIT grad, PhD, awesome, billion-dollar tech company, great. Cool to learn from. And then I saw a picture of him and his wife and his daughters, and I wonder what he's like at home. And I could be wrong about this, but he's in charge here. I doubt he's in charge at home. I just got that sense. And he doesn't seem super happy in his marriage necessarily. He's always at work. And I'm not making that wrong either. I get it. I'm an achiever. But yeah, that's something to consider for anyone out there. In the 21st century, things have gotten blurry as shit. There used to be work and home. That is not a thing anymore. Seriously.
No. You don't even have to be a content creator. Think about, I think about people who post, like I post pictures of Taryn and myself and the cats, but like I don't have kids. I don't know. Even that, it's like you post your kids online. Like what happened behind the scenes in order for that to happen? What was your thought process when you were taking the picture? Like, did you take it to post it? Again, I'm not making that wrong either. I had a moment when I was recording the episode today where I was like, I think the scary thing is I know it will be harder to win like that. And then the even scarier thing is I don't think I care.
Yeah.
I don't really care. I don't want to do it. Somebody asked me today, they said, hey, can you take a look at our YouTube thumbnails? I said, yeah. And they said, are there some commonalities that you've seen between the clients who are doing really well on YouTube and like lessons you can take from that? And I said, I'll be very honest. I don't know. I'm smacking the shit off my head. I don't know what the hell's going on here. I'll be very honest. Hammered drunk. One of the strategies right now, and I promise I'll connect this to everybody out there, the vast majority of you that aren't content creators or podcasters or YouTubers. Maybe you want to be, though. But there is a strategy right now that a lot of people are doing is where they'll just go find a channel that's not that big that has outlier videos. So like, let's say there's a channel that has 1,000 subscribers, but it managed to create a video that has 500,000 views. And they'll just copy the thumbnail and they'll copy the title and they'll just do the video in their own unique way. Because it's something happened to make a channel that had no reach kind of go viral. So why wouldn't we just try to figure out what they did and replicate it? And I said,
you can't play that game.
Well, I said, don't look at our thumbnails because we're not doing that. So you can't look at our channel. I know we could be doing different. I don't really care. I don't really want to. But that's scary.
Yeah.
I think that's scary. That's a little bit scary.
Well, let's have this conversation. You said, I'm afraid that it's going to be harder to win this way. And what you mean is in terms of external success.
Yes.
However, there's something to be said for this, and I've been contemplating this for at least 10 years, if not longer. There's this interesting understanding that I had when I was in corporate where I saw these people that were very, 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 very externally successful. I'm talking wealthy as fuck. Okay? But there's something you pay for that. Not always, but most of the time. On the emotional and soul level, there's something you pay. You pay a dividend or a price or a sacrifice, whatever you want to call it, but there's something that dies inside a little bit. And I was always trying to figure out, how do I win in corporate? This is back when my dream was to be a Fortune 500 CEO, like my hero at the time, Steve Jobs. He's not my hero anymore, but I wanted to do, for me, it was lawyer, politician, president, or it was engineer, MBA, CEO of a Fortune 500 company like Steve Jobs. And I've studied his whole career, and we actually use his org structure at NLU with much less people. But back then I was studying all the greats in the business world, quote unquote, in corporate. And I was around some of the greats as well, which is really wild to say out loud here. And I was in my early 20s, so this is interesting. But ultimately, you always want to learn from the best in the game in order to try to become the best in the game. So if you want to learn basketball, you try to study Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or whoever. If you want to be the CEO, you got to understand the differences. So I'm doing all of that. And I realized very early on, and I think this was more intuitive than anything, that they were very different at home than they were at work, and that they paid a price. They paid a price on the soul and emotional level. And I don't think they're super fulfilled. And I think that was something that was very alarming for me. And I'm talking multimillionaire CEOs. And when that's your dream, you get concerned. It's like, well, I wouldn't trade places with you. So what does that mean? Because you look fucking miserable. You're out of shape. And you're not happy and getting divorced. And how do I get that level of impact and success without the downsides? And that's been really what I've been trying to figure out for my entire life, quite frankly. And it's the truth of the matter is, you say it's going to be harder to win this way. And I'm with you. I think in some ways that's true. But there's got to be something to be said for not having to change who you are. Because how hard is that, right?
Yeah.
To try to put on this professional front versus... Yeah. You and I don't have to waste time and effort on that shit because we're just kind of showing up as ourselves.
Yeah, but we did in the beginning more than we do now. So that's the question is, if I just started a podcast about podcasts, same level of knowledge, far less level of experience, I don't know if I, number one, would have had that thought of I'm just going to do it my way. Number two, I definitely don't think I would have made it okay. Right?
What do you mean by make it okay? You wouldn't have had the confidence or the courage?
I wouldn't have said, if it takes longer, it takes longer, whatever.
Yeah.
Because we've just done that so many times up in... we have another client, just a good... I'm not interested in having guests on NLU anymore. If I was going to have a guest, she would be a guest I would like to have.
Nice.
Because she's just a good person. She turned down a 7-figure sponsorship opportunity.
Yeah.
It's over $1 million.
That's awesome.
Because it was out of alignment.
I did that with $1 million as well. And
I know.
I don't want to win out of alignment with who I am.
But I think that's
the
why
harder, longer road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
I think you and I have just done that. And again, this isn't, if anything, it makes it harder. So I think it makes it harder externally. I think it makes it far better internally.
Yeah. And I think that's what staying power is.
Would you,
if you have the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and again, no one knows for sure, but average life expectancy right now is 78. It's increasing. If you're intending on a long career, a long calling, you don't want to sell out early because it'll fuck you up internally.
For sure. What advice would you give to somebody about this? Like, do you play the game or do you just be you and trust that you'll attract the right people eventually, in time, eventually, whatever, however it works, to somebody just starting? I don't want to eliminate the large percentage of people listening because I know most people probably aren't content creators, but
This
anything
applies
out
to
of
any career.
Let's just say anything out of the realm of normalcy. Like, I'm not saying a 9-to-5 corporate. I'm saying you want to do something different. Doesn't mean you have to start your own company, but like you want to do your own thing. You want to be in control of what you're doing. That's how I'll put it. And there is very clear competition and a blueprint for how they're doing it. Those are the pillars of this.
NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes. Of course, I would go deeper understanding rather than tactics, so I'll give both, but I'm going to start with deeper understanding.
Please.
No matter what you're trying to achieve, there is a blueprint. You're not the first person to try to do anything. You're not the first person to build a smartphone. You're not the first person to build a tech company. You're not the first person to start a podcast. No matter what, there's an existing blueprint. And I think we all have to start out studying that. And yeah, maybe modeling it a bit. And then as you go into the journey, you realize, you know what? It's like a buffet. I don't really like curry. Or I don't really like whatever that is. And so Kevin and I started a podcast and we went out naive as shit and we interviewed all these people and we saw what the top of the game was doing and we studied Joe Rogan and everybody. And then we were like, you know what? I don't want to win that way. And that's not who we are. And so you study the existing game and then you model that and realize it's not who you really are, or maybe it's not fully fulfilling. And then you have to realign the existing blueprint with who you are, which is unique. And then you start to master that, and eventually you start to change the game. You start to do it your own way within that old blueprint, but in your new custom blueprint. And if you do that really well, which is what I'm really hoping is happening for us, then you can change the game. And then eventually people start to model you, and you have changed the game perpetually. And then 100 years from now, that gets changed again. Michael Jordan changed the game of basketball. Michael Phelps changed the sport of swimming. I never used to be able to say this out loud because I would come off as a nutcase. But I intend on changing the game of business in the 21st century. And I've studied the 20th century entirely, and before that, quite frankly. And I'm studying what businesses are doing now, particularly in this space, but beyond that. And we're doing it very different. And I do believe that we can do something that's never been done in a way it's never been done that eventually would be studied.
But that's not the advice you'd give to somebody else necessarily.
What the advice I would give to someone else is you have to align what works with your core values.
Yeah.
And if you trade in your core values and your integrity for external success, that will fuck you up. I've been there, but to a much lesser extent than most. And I didn't do it for 30 years. I had my wake-up call at 26. Some people don't have that until 56.
Well, that's any time I hear like Michael Jordan or that, it's like, well, I know, but that's one. For every Michael Jordan, there's 1,000 Bob Dingoes. More than
Shout
that,
out to
honestly.
Bob Dingo.
For every Michael Jordan, there's probably 100,000 Bob Dingoes. For every, that there was a. I showed this to Bianca and Emilia today. I had a call with them. Let me pull it up real quick.
That's been a trip for me. You coaching her, and then me hearing through. That's been fascinating. Little triangulation.
I am a huge fan of getting the opportunity to talk with them. There's a platform for podcasters called Podmatch, and it helps hosts find guests. Great platform. Awesome.
And
Alex
guests
Sanfilippo
find hosts.
And guest finds hosts. Yes, Alex Sanfilippo is the creator of it, and it's great. I don't have anything. It's really good. It's a really, really good platform.
Tinder for podcasters.
Tinder for podcasters, except less sex. So right now, there are 2.757 million podcasts. Let's just say there's 3 million podcasts, quote unquote. Out of those, there's only 383,000 active podcasts. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the one I wanted to share. 56% of podcasters don't make it past episode 8.
Okay, so let's do the math.
That's 44.54% do.
So 368,000 are active?
Oh, geez. 383,275. And I promise we're not doing this to pump our tires.
Yeah. Times, so what percentage? 55%?
55.46.
I'm just going to put 45 then. So that means that 172,000 are active past 8 episodes.
Well, I don't know if this number is... I don't know if they correlate like that.
That would make sense. So if 55% don't make it past 8 episodes, then that means 45% do.
Yeah, but I don't know if that number is from this.
Oh, okay.
I just don't know.
Well,
I'm not sure. I just don't want to give out false data.
Yeah. Okay, well, all right. No one quote us on this. And I think this feels like a pretty sound analysis so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
The thing I really wanted to point to was the chance of reaching the milestone of recording 300 episodes is 2.76%.
Mm-hmm.
Which means out of every 100 podcasts that get created, only 2.76 of them, so less than 3, get to 300 episodes.
Yeah.
Think of that number. Just think of that.
Why do you think that is? And again, this is the way it works with all success.
Yeah,
this is the way it works with businesses, podcasts, all that. This is why I have such a hard time with people at the top of the game that say, I wouldn't have worried so much. Listen, Oprah, you worried, and I'm grateful you worried because look at what you did with your life. That's great. But these people need to be concerned. Like, if you're not concerned about being out of shape, you're not going to be as in shape.
That is true. It's really hard to do anything for a long period of time.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm convinced it's because the thing is going to teach you more about yourself than it's going to teach you about the thing.
Unless you have a mask on the whole time.
Well,
in which case you're a performer. And
yeah, but even then, it's going to teach you stuff. It's just going to be behind the scenes, and it's not going to be lessons that you take. I don't think you can get through anything unscathed, quote unquote. I think either you sell pieces of yourself to get there, or you go through the thorns with the lessons and the pain, but you grow from it.
Yeah.
But so my thought was, we're 1900 and whatever episode. I don't know what that is. I mean, the number of podcasts, again, this isn't to pump our tires, but I just want to use it as an example. The number of podcasts that get to 1,971 episodes is probably 1% of 1% of 1%. Like, it's probably
how many podcasts do you think are past that mark?
I don't know. If not,
You got to figure maybe, I don't know, probably 1,000.
If we're saying there's 30,000, sorry, what did we say? 285,000?
No, 385. So 385,000 inactive that are still active, and then 45% of them is 176,000.
Yeah.
I did it. So you're looking at maybe 1,000.
Yeah, very
maybe
small number.
10,000. Yeah, maybe
Okay.
10,000.
How many of those people played the game the whole time? How many of those people played the game for 75% of the time? How many of those people played the game for 50%?
Can you define playing the game? Because here's the thing, right? The fundamentals could be considered playing the game. So
fair.
Here's a fundamental. What you focus on determines where you invest your time, effort, and money. Where you invest your time, effort, and money in terms of persons, places, things, and ideas dictates your results in life. And what you measure dictates your focus. So those are fundamentals.
I got a definition for you.
But that's playing the game from my perspective. But it's not playing the social perception.
This is my definition of playing the game. You're risking character alignment for results alignment. That's my definition.
I think you lose long term and you win short term when you do that, I think. And you and I decided early on we'd rather do it our way and fail than succeed at the expense of character.
Well, but there is a downside from the outside looking in. I mean, there is a downside of that.
Yeah, there definitely is.
And I think it's important to discuss. It might take longer.
The old me never would have shared this, but I think it's really important. And I am, again, not trying to pump my tires either, but I had the opportunity to be given $1 million to start a company with. That would be at the start. $1 million, boom. But then I would have people that have an invested interest in what we do and don't do. So we wouldn't be able to say, you know what, we're not going to have that mentor. And you know what, because they would own they would own a piece of everything we do. And I didn't want to play that game. To me, I knew there was a way to do it without that money. And there's a way to do it without that money. It's going to take way longer. It's going to be way harder, and it's going to be alarmingly difficult in ways beyond what I comprehended. Yeah. But it's been worth it, in my opinion, because I don't know. I know it's corny, but live free or fail. Like, I would rather be free and fail than succeed and be trapped.
I don't think that's normal.
Yeah, I don't either. And then the irony and paradox of that is, if you don't have that self-belief,
yes,
you're gonna take the $1 million, and then you're gonna be trapped. But maybe you're gonna be trapped in an unfulfilling success. But I had already done that, dude. I felt trapped in corporate.
I had
already done that, and
I would have probably if I was offered that opportunity, you weren't around, I probably would have taken that. I wouldn't have known any better.
There's a weird lesson in that, and I'll go brief with it because I know we got to jump. But the weird part about life, and I've never been able to figure this out, so I'm not pretending to know why this works this way, but because you would have taken it, you almost are guaranteed not to be offered it. Yeah. And that's just a whole nother episode, but
I think it's the same.
Because if you became the type of man who didn't need it, you'd be offered it. Yeah. In a way. You know what I mean?
It's the same things that create the opportunity also create the awareness of the opportunity.
Yeah, no one's going to go to you and say, hey, person who's never proven anything, do you want $1 million to start a company? There was a lot more to it. It was, hey, there's a lot of capital. Private equity is a big deal. We have tons of capital, but we can't find good entrepreneurs. You're a great entrepreneur. I believe in you. Like, let's set up a meeting. And no, I'm good. Thank you.
Send me in with a blonde wig.
Send Kevin.
Stock
you
numbers,
ever see
baby.
the good little hunting scene when?
Yeah.
Yeah, when Ben Affleck goes in. Yeah.
Could be you and I.
What does he do? He shakes him out of like $700 or something.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but
that's
I do. I remember the outline of the scene. Yeah. So
here to hither, 700, you know.
I need to watch that again. I haven't watched that in a long time. That's the thesis in today's Freestyle Friday. Yeah, I think the longer you do something, the longer, the easier it is to find alignment, recognize alignment, and really recognize misalignment. And I think it's just also scary to just get in the groove of, I'm going to be myself. I've been trying to do that on my Instagram story. I've just been like hitting record and like, what am I thinking about? Because I do think it's valuable. I think it's a different perspective, as weird as it might sound. I just don't, there's like it's not sugar-coated, it's not perfect, there's no edits, there's no music. It's just like, this is what I'm thinking, and that's where this whole thing started for me. And I think for a long time I just stopped doing that because maybe I lost sight of it or I got overwhelmed or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, little Freestyle Friday.
I texted you recently. I said I got to get back to my deepest why. I have a folder with just all the impact over the years and people saying thank you and all that. And I just, every now and then when life gets really hard, it's just, what are we doing this for again? And then I get back to that, and it's a nice recentering. And at the end of the day, impact was the goal at the beginning, to be the male role models we never had. And I think that we're doing that. And whenever you lose sight of that, everything starts to fuck up, you know?
Of course.
You really got to stay tethered to something deeper. And whenever you don't, the business and the team, and it gets complicated, and it's like, wait a minute, this was a simple mission. This was a simple calling. This is self-improvement, having deep conversations with Kev to try to help people reevaluate their life, change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you live. It's about transformation. It's about growth. And it gets really complicated later on. And all of a sudden now you have a lot of people counting on you, and now you have to be a certain way. It's very hard not to get lost in all that shit. And again, I obviously, we're not rich and famous or anything, but we're certainly on our way to wealth. And, we have a name, and I just never want to lose sight of that, dude. Straight up. It has to be what you tether to, because you'll get lost. You'll get so lost in all that shit. Some people love you that used to hate you, and some people hate you that used to love you. That's been wonky. And this person said that, and this person told you that, but then told this person. It gets really weird. And then people want to be around you, but they also don't. They want to be around you, but they don't really know the real you anymore, and they certainly don't want that version. And so, anyways, it gets, for anyone out there watching or listening, to make this completely full circle, whatever job, career, calling that you choose, what really matters is how fulfilled you are along the way. That has to be what matters. Being in love, being healthy, and being fulfilled, and building wealth in that fucking order. It has to be in that order, dude.
Yeah, because I'm not going to say it's easy to build wealth, because it was never easy for me, so I don't want to say that. But it's almost like you ever go on a website, anything, you're looking for, let's say this, you're looking for a home, and there's filters. It's going to be 3-bedroom, 2-bath, filter. You know how easy it is to find a house when you just take off all the filters?
Yeah.
Just pick anyone.
It's a good
And
metaphor.
again, yeah, if you had if I gave you $50 million, so yeah, just go buy a house. You could pretty much go on Zillow anywhere in the world and turn off all the filters, and you'd be able to buy it. There's not that many $50 million houses. I think it's very simple, but if it had to be, you had to have 5 acres, and it had to have a 2-car garage, and it had to be a smart home, and it had to be in a safe neighborhood, and it had to be in a really good school system, and it had to be in a certain town, in a certain state, with a certain price range. It's really hard to do that. I think that's why core values are so challenging to work within.
Yeah,
and I think that's why it's so easy for people to try to push them to the side to achieve stuff, because when there's less filters, it's just easier.
What I've found, promise last thing, what I've found is some people are more goal achievement oriented and other people are more core value oriented. And a goal is future tense, something you're trying to achieve in the future. And a core value is how you show up in the present. For me, I was more focused on goals than I was on core values, and I lost myself. And you were more focused on core values and less focused on goals because you didn't have
Who knows?
But I think that you need both, and it's very hard. I mean, that's what the GPS is, right? Current location, destination location. You need both. And if you compromise either one, you forget where you came from and you forget where you're headed, so you get lost. And you need both. And we're about to do a meetup on core values in now, 44 minutes.
But it will be in the past if you're listening to this. So it already happened, but we're still haven't done it yet. That's wild shit right there. All right, Next Level Nation, April 5th, 2025. Next Level Live 2025. Virtual event, purely virtual. Alan and I will be live streaming to Zoom. It's going to be from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m., a full day event, all about what we have had the opportunity to learn and practice and teach over the last 8 years for me, I think 10-ish years for Alan. It's going to be $47, a bargain. Again, you're not going to add a zero. It's not going to be $500. None of that shit. It's going to be $47. That's how much it's going to be. And with that $47, you're going to get access to the replay. So let's say you start and then the kids are up running around like maniacs. You can track them down. If you miss anything, you'll have access to the replay. So we'll have the link in the show notes. We would love to have you there. Our goal is to add as much value as possible, and we know we have listeners, to Alan's point, all over the world. So that's why we're going purely virtual, so we can see as many of you as humanly possible and not, what's the word I'm looking for? Limit. I guess not limit those of you who want to attend based on geographically. Throw back to the beginning of the days of geographically.
And please do not fall for when you hear $47, it means less value. No. The amount of time and effort we're going to put into making this as valuable as possible is, I would put it up against any day-long event that's virtual. So I don't want you to hear 47 and think less value. No. Think 47 and go, oh my goodness, this isn't going to break the bank. A full day of personal development and personal growth. And we're going to put time and effort, just everything we've learned over the last 8 years on this journey, all condensed into one day, the very best work we can possibly do. So I just don't want anyone to think, if it was 4,700, it would be more valuable. That's not what we're about.
Yeah, no, and it wouldn't.
Yeah, it would be the exact same.
It would be the exact same.
Exactly. We're going to put everything we've got into this.
It's more heart. That's what it is. That's why it's $47, because we actually want people to be able to come, and we don't want to get rich off of it. Okay, that's it. That's all. That's what it is. Because
but we also don't want to lose money on it.
Well, we don't want to lose money. I mean, we've lost enough money, but it doesn't have. We can. I always say this to clients and potential clients: if it's not a win-win-win, it's a loss. I want it to be a win-win-win.
Damn right.
And if it was $5,000, Alan and I showing up at a fucking conference room. It's like, all right, we're going to change your life today. And when you leave
100%.
here, you're going to be able to make $10 million, $100,000 billion. You're going to be so rich, you're sick of money. So that's not going to happen.
Speaking of win-win-win, if you are out there and you've always wanted a coach, just give it a shot. My link will be in the show notes. Business coaching, yes, but I help with career development. I help with self-improvement. I help with fitness. It's all goal achievement is what it is. Goals, priorities, metrics, habits, skills, and identity. Get on the train tracks, improve the train tracks, stay on the train tracks, accountability. And if you just want someone to be in your corner motivating you constantly, give it a shot. You can cancel anytime. Reach out.
That would have been a really good opportunity for you to say, now the live event's not going to make you a bajillionaire overnight. That we can't promise. But if you do have interest in that, you want to sign up for my one-on-one coaching, sky's the limit. Mortgage your house, sell your car, whatever you got to do to do this coaching. Whatever. Max out your credit card, whatever you got to do to get in this coaching program. It's going to change your fucking life. It will change your life, and you won't have to do any of those things because it's wildly affordable, okay? Cool. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. At NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep it next level. Next Level Nation.